As of today, it has been officially 6 days since I purchased Grand Theft Auto 5 from my nearest gaming store on the day it came out, and I can honestly say it has been one of the greatest gaming experiences I have ever had in my entire life. It is just one of those games that you never want to end. If any expansion packages come out, and I know they will, I will get them as soon as possible just because the storyline is so great and it's so full of color and depth, and it's just such a whole experience in the most accurate definition of the word. The city of Los Santos is such a dense place, and it's not just a facade with buildings that you can just see from the outside. You could actually go in so many of them, and you can climb the mountains that you can see in the horizon, and you can even fly the planes that are in the airport near the city. There are just so many things that you can do in this game. You can really feel like, well, you're one of those characters, which evolve as the game progresses. You can really get a feel for those characters, and you really start to get, in touch with them, and they kind of start feeling it like they're one of your friends almost. And just from the very beginning of the game, you kind of get an image of what each kind of character is. Maybe a gangster, a white-collar criminal, or just a fucking weird-ass psycho. They just kind of evolve into different people, and they start to come together as a whole group of people who you can really get in touch with, and you really start to enjoy playing as well as just seeing them. As you proceed in the game, you start to acquire new abilities for each of these characters separately. So for example, if I wanted to use Trevor and go to the shooting range, I could improve his shooting abilities. The only thing I didn't like about this is that I didn't really see any improvement. So for example, when Michael's driving ability went up, I didn't really see any changes in his driving ability or anything of the sort. So that I would really like to see maybe in a patch, something that implements the actual abilities so that I can see what they're doing. And back to the characters, there's a feature in the game where you can switch between each of the characters in missions and out of missions. Now, the out of mission character switching might seem a little sluggish at some points, and maybe even a little slow and unnecessary, but in mission it is just a great thing to be able to have, where someone might be pointing a gun at somebody, and then another person you can switch to might be sniping, and then another person might be driving. So you just kind of get the experience for the whole environment that's happening at that moment, and not just your own person. Now, while you're each of these characters, you get special abilities depending on which person you use. For example, Trevor has an ability which is called Rage, in which he inflicts twice his damage and receives almost no damage. Franklin is able to drive in slow motion, and Michael is also able to use slow motion, but in all events that don't count as driving. Now, the voiceovers for each of the characters are some of the greatest I've ever seen in any video game. I understand that they use actual criminals that just came out of prison to do some of the voiceovers for a lot of the characters, which is just, you can really get a feel for those people, and they're not just, a video game character. They're actual people who you subconsciously you start to think of them as actual people who actually existed, and all of this is actually happening. So that's a really great part of the experience. Now, the side missions, as with any GTA game, do divert from the main storyline, but eventually connect back to the original storyline, and also leave open branches for you to explore once you finish the main storyline, and still have something to do that is related with, not just free roaming, but rather exploring and getting to meet new characters and things of the nature, which really make the replayability of this game incredibly successful, because there's just so many things that you can go back and do again, and then just see new things. Aside from this, there's other things that you can go around doing in Los Santos, like golf, or for example in tennis you actually play a full 3-set match with, you have the X button, which does a certain move, as well as the triangle and circle button for those PlayStation players, and the same goes for the Xbox. And it really allows for the player to feel what an actual tennis video game would feel like, and it just feels like you have a bunch of games that are thrown in this one big game. So you have driving, you have golf, you have cycling, you have tennis, you have swimming, you have all of these games that you can buy separately, but you can also have within this one great game. And as for the money, which if you look at the title, you can tell that it's a very big part of the game. The main income for the money are heists, which you get to do a couple of during the main storyline, and they pretty much set you for the rest of the game. You don't really need that much more money after you're done, unless you want to buy certain properties, which are quite expensive, and you might need a little bit more work for that. But the heists are really great. They're really well planned out. You really get to use a lot of the features which are implemented into the game, like the switching characters or using their special abilities, maybe a little more stealth or strategy than the rest of the game. And the one thing that I didn't like about this game is that the flying is absolutely horrible. It is unbearable. I remember there's one mission where you have to fly as Trevor, and it is just undoable. I had to do it a good 7 or 8 times, and it's a really bad mechanic. That is the one thing that I do have to point out I did not like about this game. But aside from that, just there's so many new things that you can do that you would not imagine, like getting in a jumpsuit and shooting out cops, or robbing a jewelry store, or robbing a bank, or doing so many of these things that are implemented into the game that I would just never would have been able to do with any other, not just Grand Theft Auto game, but any game in general. So it is a definite 10 out of 10 for me, and a definite buy. So if you have the money for this, please do go out and buy it. It will be a great experience. You will not regret it. The city of Los Santos is full of things to do, and you will not be tired of it. I assure you. My children, when they are of age, of course, will be playing this game in a couple of decades, I hope. And I hope that yours will be as well. I hope you enjoyed my review, and please be sure to subscribe for more videos like this. It has been Too Many 13 here, and I hope you enjoyed.